New COVID-19 restrictions have come into force in Thailand. A ban on dining in at restaurants had been ordered between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. But Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has now ruled the restrictions will only take effect from 9 p.m. to avoid hurting businesses. Officials continue to shy away from imposing a nationwide lockdown. And that's despite reporting a daily record of almost 750 new infections. Bangkok and 27 other provinces have been declared high-risk zones. Saksit Sayasombat joins us live from Bangkok for more on this story. Now, Saksit, why did the Prime Minister order the change in restrictions?
Now, before we get to the change, Steve, let's take a step back because on Sunday, the Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has signed off on measures in 28 provinces that have been declared high-risk zone, including the capital Bangkok and the surrounding provinces. And basically, these measures give the provincial governors the powers to set certain restrictions, for example, restricting travel, closing certain businesses. But even before that, some agencies and ministries have already preempted that. For example, schools and universities have already been closed. Now, the latest move here is that earlier today, on this Monday, Bangkok City Hall has announced restrictions on dining in. Initially, they were going to have it only from 7 to 6 a.m., where nobody could be actually sitting in restaurants and eateries and only have their food for takeaway. But then this was overruled by Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha in not only his capacity as Prime Minister, but also as the head of the government's COVID-19 task force. He says that it would be too much of a burden for the economies, for the businesses. So that's why the timing has now been shortened from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., where people cannot dine in. But that also coincides with the opening times, with the shortened opening times of the ubiquitous shopping malls here in Thailand, especially here in Bangkok. That is also now from 9 p.m. when it is going to close 1 hour earlier than is usually the case. But it goes to show here that it's not very easy because the government has stopped short of imposing a nationwide lockdown. These measures that have been given to the provincial governors that is supposed to give a more flexible and also a more localized approach here, but it's almost a damn if you do and damn if you don't situation that we are facing here.
Also, Saksit, Thailand plans to begin this mass vaccination program. How's that progressing?
Very slowly. The Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has said that they're expecting the first batch of 200,000 doses of vaccines from China, from Sinovac, to arrive here, and that will be given, of course, to medical professionals. Now, that 200,000 dose is just a part of a 2 million doses order from China. On top of that, Thailand has already inked a deal with AstraZeneca for 26 million doses. But then on top of this, also, they have announced that they will order another 35 million doses of AstraZeneca to Thailand as well. And the AstraZeneca vaccine is supposed to be in use from May onwards. The plan until the end of the year is to at least vaccinate half of the population here. But that is going to be now a race against time because of those rising COVID-19 cases that we have seen over the past 2 weeks here. And also in related news, we're also seeing that the state of emergency that has been in use for almost a year now, that is also, of course, going to be extended as well. Initially only there to accommodate arrivals from abroad into state quarantine, but given the rising case numbers here, given that there are more lockdowns and more measures coming on here, that seems to be the case that the state of emergency will be extended. But whether or not we will see a lockdown, that remains to be seen. As of now, they are not calling it a lockdown, but it definitely resembles more and more a lockdown.
Good to know. Thanks very much for those updates. Saksit Sayasombat, they're reporting to us from Bangkok.